What kind of person leaves a perfectly comfortable modern home in the city, drives out the interstate to a lonely road, to a lonelier road, to a dirt road, to a two-track, and finally stops, gets out to gaze with reverence upon, explore, and photograph a wrecked and abandoned mining town at the foot of a mountain range nobody's ever heard of? I'll have to admit I'm not quite sure. Perhaps I'll know someday. But if this sounds like you, stay with us. This place where you can camp and walk unperturbed, by living souls at least, is called Tunnel Camp. The mining district and mountain range are called Seven Troughs. And if you take Interstate 80, itself a piece of American history roughly following both the California Trail and the Lincoln Highway, out near the town of Lovelock, Nevada, then head northwest on NV 399, you'll find a dirt road that will take you right to it. You can find info on Tunnel Camp freely on the web, and it's also on the topo maps of the area. If you'd like full GPS tracks of our trip, you can check out our Patreon page, where patrons of All Terrain Family get access to all that info. Though a latecomer to the once well-populated district of Seven Troughs, Tunnel Camp is the only one still standing as of 2019. To the east is Vernon, a population center once so vibrant it had a post office, but now is marked only by flat spots in the rocky ground, a few crumbling rock foundations, and a label on the map. Some structures from Vernon were hauled to Tunnel Camp, and may well remain there still, at least bits and pieces. To the north is Mazuma, also labeled on the map, at the mouth of Seven Troughs Canyon, which was washed away in a flood in 1912. The 9 victims of which have rested in the cemetery below the townsite of Tunnel Camp these 107 years. Tunnel Camp was and is a dream. In 1927, the site was planned for mills, both stamp, ball, and cyanide to process ore from the United mining operations in the adjacent canyons. The plan was to dig a tunnel through the mountain to drain the Seven Troughs, Coalition, Fairview, and Mazuma Hills mines, which encounter high water flows, and were in various stages of inundation. It was also hoped to be a conduit to transport the ore out to the planned milling operations at Tunnel Camp. One can assume that the large plug of debris above the town site where we camped, as well as the several terraced reservoirs in the drainage next to town, are fill material taken from excavation of this tunnel. Either way, much of the foundation of the old cyanide mill remains below an iron 5-stamp mill, which is below one of several large ore hoppers in the area. The roads and drainages in the Seven Troughs range are littered with these elevated wooden hoppers, which metered ore into the stamp mills for crushing, though most of the mills are now gone. In the townsite of Tunnel Camp, 6 buildings yet remain, along with 2 hoppers, 2 dugouts, and countless foundations, platforms, and random unidentifiable structures. Above town is the foundation of the power plant, which housed several diesel generators. There are several super creepy dugouts, one with clothing hanging from the rafters like a changing room for spirits.
Like really freaky.
Somebody's underpants.
Wait, what? Someone's underpants? That's underpants?
The other has 4 bunks in one wall that have junky old mattresses stuffed in them. The very idea of sleeping in there should make you shudder and zip up your hoodie. There are several other ore hoppers which fed mills, only one of which remains. I'm not sure what the buildings remaining used to be, except the large red brick structure which continues to crumble. It was once the office for the mining operations in the area.
My dedication stick is we get this shoo.
For the overlander, the Seven Troughs Range is a gold mine. Roads crisscross the canyons, and there are many structures, artifacts, and canyons to explore. We spent a day of our trip making the loop to Seven Troughs Canyon, up and over the pass by Signal Peak, and then down to the site of Vernon. It's a fairly easy loop for a moderately equipped 4x4. It would be a good loop on a mountain bike or ATV as well. For sightseeing, it's hard to beat the sunrise over the Humboldt Range to the east, and the sunsets are amazing. While you can camp wherever you want, the best place is the flat area of mine tailings above the town. From there you can walk to all of the interesting structures and artifacts left at Tunnel Camp. I have seen people camp right there in town, which is not my choice, for reasons discussed below. If this site isn't to your liking for camping, Vernon to the west would be good, as would Mazuma, though they never did find the last body from that flood. Though it should go without saying, Tunnel Camp Ghost Town is haunted. The 9 people, several of which were children, who died in the flood of 1912 could, for all we know, still be restlessly inhabiting the town and graveyard where they were last laid to rest.
Okay, you may rule the brick building, but you do not claim our territory. Yes.
There's also the story of a woman named Nan Dixon who came to the area looking for her brother, who lived there with his family in 1978 and apparently owed her money. Nan drove her very un-overland Datsun B210 to collect the $6,000. I don't know where he was supposedly living, perhaps hiding out in a trailer like several others seem to be doing in the valley below Tunnel Camp still today. According to the Charlie Project, one theory is that her disappearance is connected to alleged airdrops of illegal drugs in the Seven Troughs area. Perhaps she witnessed one and was killed as a result. Her car was found by hunters 4 years after her disappearance, with various bits of evidence found inside, none of which conclusive of her fate. Her case remains unsolved. For all I know, the ghost stories are true. If you're interested, you can find a bunch of hokey videos on YouTube discussing the matter. For my part, I believe in ghosts. They could be spirits who haven't found respite in the afterlife. They could be ghosts we take with us everywhere we go, who only come out in places like this. They could just be donkeys braying in the wind, high up on the mountain. I have to admit, I'm not quite sure. Perhaps I'll know someday. The information in this video was found online in various places, including Nevada Expeditions is a website maintained by a Northern Nevada native who loves exploring and photographing ghost towns named Austin. Lots of great info there. Friends of the Black Rock High Rock is a public land stewardship group focused on conservation and education of the Black Rock Desert region of Northern Nevada. Forgotten Nevada is a compendium of information on out-of-the-way places in Nevada maintained by Bob Frenchu and Luis Ramirez. They have pages for dozens of cool historical sites all over central Nevada with photos, maps, and information. GhostTowns.com is a pretty old-school website with info on ghost towns all over the United States. They have a forum, which may be useful in getting info on ghost towns as well. Silver State Ghost Towns is an archive of Nevada ghost town info and photography by Warren Willis Sr., a retired naval officer from Las Vegas who now lives in Utah. The website is a great resource for overlanders looking for ghost towns. Some of the photos used here and in our social media and blog post about Seven Troughs are by Steve Hamill. We had a blast with Steve and his little girl on this trip as they trundled down the road in their custom-painted Jeep Cherokee. You can see more of his work at hamillstudio.com. And yes, Steve did in fact step on a rusty nail. Thanks for watching, and happy trails!